Good evening, folks. Welcome to this edition of Curveball Convos with the Carolina Curveball staff. Today, we're here to talk to you about the midweek recap, as well as preview the weekend, as well as maybe hit on some of the college basketball, maybe hit on the players, maybe some other things toward the end of the show. But first, we are here to talk about the midweek madness that was this past week. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Casey Ramaley. If you're new to the show, and then I'll pass it around to the boys. Braxton, you want to go first?
Yeah, pretty good midweek. This week I was able to watch quite a bit of ball. Obviously, we got basketball rolling in March Madness, but the baseball doesn't stop. The weather's getting warmer, and just excited to keep it rolling. I was impressed by a number of teams, which we'll get into. But I'm more excited that kind of conference play is kicking off this weekend in a lot of these leagues. So we finally get to see, the matchups we've been looking forward to for the season.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll move on to Reed Tobin. Reed, where are you at today?
I am in Charlotte in the Pineville area, like always traveling, always in a hotel room, it seems, when we do these shows. But yeah, like Braxton said, weather's finally warmer, which is good for us and all the fans. A lot of chalk this week in the midweek, not as many upsets as we've seen in the past few weeks.
Yes, sir. And Colby, how's it going, man? Who's state going to hire your head coach?
It's a good question. I think we might have a little answer to that, but it might not be right. But it's been a good midweek. I didn't get to watch too much, but catching up on some scores and some box scores, it looked to be good.
Yeah, for sure. And as we kind of kick this off tonight, Braxton, I'll let you start off. What is a game you would like to talk about first? As we kind of look at it as a first glance, like Reed said, it was very chalky this week. Not too many upsets. I wouldn't say many upsets. I think one that we can start off with is Wofford and College of Charleston. College of Charleston got a 9-8 win over Wofford. College of Charleston proves a 3-0 during the midweek. Thank you, Braxton. So I'll let you take away with this one. And College of Charleston really beating a solid Wofford team on the road.
Yeah, it was an impressive win. It was kind of a bit of a back and forth game. I had it on for a little bit at the beginning before some of these other games started out. But those are two really good programs, obviously, in South Carolina, kind of two mid-major, wannabe regional teams, obviously. And so that's, this is big RBI incentive in this kind of game. And I think Charleston just edging it there at home is huge for them. And I did make a note of it. I think they're 3-0 in midweeks now, which is impressive. Obviously, they have the Coastal win. They went down to Statesboro, beat Georgia Southern, and then now beating a good Wofford team. These guys look like they know how to win these midweek ball games so far. And I mean, with them not being able to sweep it on the weekend, that's huge for them to be able to take some of these midweek games. I know they've got Carolina on a midweek that got rescheduled, so that'll be interesting to see later down the year. But another game I did, you guys can touch on that game too, but I did want to, you asked me which game I want to bring up first. I would probably go to Wake and Coastal. I mean, that was a bit of a surprise. I think this is the second time that Coastal's kind of been wiped out like that in the midweek. Obviously, I just mentioned the Charleston team that smacked them around, but Wake was really impressive on Tuesday night. I think, it started out with Ethan Conrad going deep to kind of set the tone and give them a bit of a cushion early in that game. And then they just ran with it. I mean, Coastal did everything they did to sell out their park. They did dollar beer, dollar dog type night, trying to get fans out to that one. Obviously, a ranked team coming into town. So it just didn't work out for them. I think that was a really impressive performance by Wake. But I'll let you guys kind of run with that one.
Yeah, and I'll pass it to Reed real quick. I know that him and Money were there for Dollar Dog Night in down there in Conway. But Reed, I mean this Coastal Carolina team, they are a very good team. Me and Reed have got to see them in person this season already, and they have one of the best infields in the country at the diamond, as well at the plate, and as well as in the diamond in the infield. And just it's really, I mean, we did see this Coastal team lose to College of Charleston, and I'm not forsaken, really bad too early in the season. Correct, Braxton.
Yeah,
But it was also after 5 games in 5 days. So I will give them a slight there. But Reed, this Coastal team, I mean, we've always said their pitching is up this year than it has been in years past. They've always been able to mash, but this pitching on Tuesday night was not there.
No, I mean, certainly. I mean, it's midweek. You're going to throw a bunch of different guys, probably a lot of younger guys. I'm not sure who Coastal pitched Tuesday night, but obviously coming off the big series win against ECU, like Braxton said, sold out crowd down at Coastal Tuesday night. You would have thought they would have came out more energetic against a really good Wake team. But shout out Cade Lewis on Wake. He was 4 for 4 in that game. But I mean, like I said, this Wake team really continues to impress me. I said at the beginning of the season I thought they would host. I know it's early, but I mean, it certainly looks like they could be headed that way. Offensively, that's never been an issue with Wake over the past few years with some of the teams they had, but the pitching on this year's team seems to just be so much more improved than last year's team. Obviously they had Chase Burns, but the rest of the rotation really struggled. But certainly really impressive. Wake opens up ACC play this weekend, so I think we'll be all interested to see their second ACC series this weekend. I think we'll be all curious. Who do they have again this weekend?
Miami.
I mean, is it at Miami or is it?
It's in Winston.
Okay. I mean, I would favor Wake in that, but I mean, that should be a good test. Miami's been playing some solid ball this year.
Yeah, I also find it very interesting. I think it's kind of crazy how, if you look back to last year, this time Wake, they're the number 1 team in the country. They started off not so hot, not so well. And then this year they're I wouldn't say under the radar. They did come in ranked, but people weren't as high on them as they were last year. And this year they're playing absolutely outstanding. Granted, we will get into the strength of schedule RPI later, thanks to Braxton. And it's not as high as I would say it should be. But then again, when you look at their strength of schedule, it is what it is. I want to touch on one more thing. Thank you, Braxton, for putting the stats together. He went through the box score of every game Tuesday and Wednesday and put those on the sheet. Thank you, sir. I also want to highlight, as Reed highlighted, Cade Lewis of Wake went 4 for 4. Ethan Conrad continues to deliver from Wake, the Marist transfer. He went 2 for 3 with a home run, 3 RBIs, 3 runs scored. He has been absolutely unbelievable for sure. And as we get to a comment here from Braxton, I'll let you read this comment, sir.
Yeah. When do we start to hear Money Matt picks? Season's blowing by us. I need to win some money to keep the lights on here in Hickory, North Carolina. Shout out, Pops. I mean, yeah, look, Money's known to be a slacker. I think we need to start getting some picks. I know he's been kind of teasing them on Discord. So if you're not on the Discord, go join and say yes to sports betting. But look, he's a kind of – I think we need to get through basketball, and then he'll really start to hone in on baseball. But, I mean, look, if you guys want picks, we can all get picks. It doesn't have to be
yes.
But let us know if that's something y'all would want.
Yes, Money Matt was spotted at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory this afternoon, so that's why his focus is not so much.
Sorry to interrupt, Louisville beats Stanford at the buzzer.
Great.
Thank you, Tobin. They're in the parlay. Thank you, sir.
Great.
But,
off track here. Braxton, is there another game? We'll talk about all these games, but is there another game?
Let's go to High Point. I mean, that was a crazy game. I actually did watch a lot of that game. Shout out to Greensboro getting a big win. I mean, they needed it in the biggest way. They've obviously been losing some games. I mean, they've played – I actually don't even recall what their strength of schedule was. Hold on. Because they've played a bunch of ACC teams. Is that right? I know we're going to go through this in a little while, but –
yeah, I mean, they had the series against Pitt at home.
Yeah, they're 23rd in strength of schedule.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Penn State midweek.
But good for them to get a win in High Point against a good Panther team. There was multiple home runs on both sides. Obviously, the ball kind of flies there in High Point, but that was one game that I did want to talk about. And then also App and Charlotte, a comeback win for the Mountaineers in Boone. And Juan Correa, who played for Charlotte last year, hits the go-ahead home run. I think he was 0 for on the night and just comes up, hits a big go-ahead home run, and they end up closing it out to get a big midweek win for App. But Charlotte, of course, bounces back last night to blank Davidson, but yeah, I don't know. We can kind of go anywhere else, but those were two games that I did watch and was impressed with both of those wins by those two programs.
I'll touch on the UNC game too. Tuesday night, obviously Carolina traveling down Wilmington. Awesome atmosphere down there. Shout out to Wilmington, really packed the place out. They really got off to a good start. Tanner Thatch went yard. They had was it a 3-0 lead, Braxton, I believe?
2-0, and then I think it was 2-0, then like 2-1 because Steve, and then it was tied at 3-3 later on.
Yeah. So, Luke Stevenson, 2 solo home runs in that game, huge. Gavin Galler, game tying homer, and then shout out Jackson Vanderbeek coming in through clutch for Carolina. Hasn't been swinging the best bat so far this season, but a bases clearing triple in the 11th to propel the Heels to a solid midweek victory.
It's a big swing for him.
Yeah, I think that will certainly help with his confidence. Going back to last year when he had the walk-off in Omaha too. I thought that would help him build into this year. Because he batted over 300 2 years ago. Yeah.
Him and Stokely both were kind of guys that kind of fell off last year, and it's good to see them
Stokely was hurt. Most of last year.
But also Parks Harbor just coming in, kind of taking his spot.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to touch on Wilmington on the flip side. With this game, Wilmington now dips under 500 at 8-9, and I know we'll touch on it later with their strength of schedule. They do have one of the best strength of schedules in the country, but at the end of the day, you do have to win the games that you are presented with, and I think that they have beat Georgia. They have beat some good teams, but you also look at some of their losses. They lost to Quinnipiac. They have some questionable head-scratching losses too at the same time, but I'm really looking forward to see what this Randy Hood-led team, and glad to see Tanner Thatch get one out. I know he hasn't had an electric start, but I think that's a good start. And I think that if they did beat that Carolina team at home, that would have really propelled them more. But then on the flip side, with that loss, knowing that they can hang with a top 10 team in the country, I think that will give them the confidence moving forward for sure.
I think this team still gets in a regional.
Yes.
Yeah, they started pretty slowly last year too. I think they were below 500. They were hanging around 500 for majority of the first 2 months of last year too, before they really caught fire and found their groove.
Yeah.
And let's go to another one I would like to touch on as we go through the top here. We'll touch on this one quick. Elon gets a nice bounce back win over Radford 10-1. I do know Radford is not the best baseball program, but Elon coming off a tough sweep versus Charleston Southern, who played their absolute lights out this past weekend. A nice win for Elon 10-1. And as we go on to Citadel and Presbyterian, we had a highlight from our good buddy Lane Tobin, Reed Tobin's long lost brother. 2 home runs, first 2 of his career. Mr. Tobin, thoughts on Lane Tobin?
Yeah, shout out Lane Tobin. I don't know, it could be my long lost cousin, but I know he had his first career RBI this past weekend, so good for him to see him. Obviously, he's swinging the bat with a lot of confidence right now, including the 2 home runs the other night ago.
Is he the best player in the country, Reed?
Oh, without a doubt, Golden Spikes.
Respect to that. As we get some comments here, as Money Matt says, Southern Miss plus 10,000. Yeah, and he responds with a thumbs up. I think that's a sarcastic thumbs up. Yeah, no one's taking that, Mr. Money. As we go down further, UNC Asheville beats Queens 15-10. Queens, you're putting up runs. There are moral victories, but then again, you did give up 15 runs. Really don't have much to say about that game. Tobin, thoughts on the Queens 15-10?
No, we all know it's. Transitioning from D2 to D1, it's going to take Queens time. Certainly we were all shocked when they beat App to open the season in that opening weekend series, but I think we've all said it's going to take this program a few years, recruit, get adjusted to D1 ball before we really see something from them.
Yeah, I agree. I think about 2 or 3 years, then we'll be going to Omaha for the Royals. We already talked about App State and Charlotte. Clemson 6-4 over Liberty. I think Liberty is a solid ball club. First year head coach there from VCU. Braxton, did you watch any of this Clemson Liberty? I did not.
I watched a little bit of yesterday's game. There was a couple long home runs by I don't know if it was yesterday or Tuesday, but Josh Pano and Luke Gaffney keeps hitting the ball really well for this Clemson team. He's been a big. I think we kind of anticipated that he would be a big pickup, but I didn't know he. Let's see how he does in ACC play because he's been hitting the ball really well here in the early going. But yeah, obviously Clemson's very impressive. They continue to get good pitching, good hitting, and they're going to be a balanced ball club the whole year. I think if I had to say who would win the ACC, I will stick with the Heels, but I think Clemson's got just as good of a shot. Kind of as we start conference play here, they're looking really, really good.
What is their win streak up to? 12, 13?
I think it's 15 because they lost that first weekend,
To
right?
Ole Miss. Yeah, to Ole Miss.
They were 2-1, and now they're 17-1.
That's Sunday game against Ole Miss.
15 games, yeah.
Yeah, and as we talk about that ACC, Colby, as of right now, as we really start in the ACC play, has your mind changed on your ACC pick, or who are some teams that in the ACC that have surprised you, kind of disappointed you so far?
Yeah, I'd probably change mine though. I'm gonna go with Wake Forest if I had to change it today. I just think they look really good. Disappointing teams, I guess. Duke
I'd say
and State,
Virginia.
but
Virginia.
Virginia for sure. Duke and State have picked it up the past couple weeks, so I think this should be interesting. State hosts Virginia Tech this weekend, so that'll be an interesting series.
Pack have won, Colby, right? 9 in a row. I think.
9 in a row, yeah.
Obviously not against the best competition, but I mean, certainly after the start, the Pack have seemed to have flipped things, seem to be headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
I mean,
doubt
two of the
about
ones
it.
were Campbell and UNCG. I mean, they're not great this year by any means, but that's better teams
Right.
that they were playing.
Wright State's no slouch either.
Yeah, they're the favorite in the Horizon. So
Yeah, they win that league every year.
Yeah.
I've actually played them before. They're I mean, the year that they went to that Tennessee regional,
Should have won that game too.
we played, my D2 team played them in a series. They wanted like a kind of a build-up series before that week. So we ended up playing them. They had an open weekend, and so do we. And they were a good team. I mean, obviously we were D2 going in there, but we played them pretty tough, but that's a very good program up there. I can say that from experience.
Yes, sir. And as we move on, we already talked about Wake and Coastal. Colby, did you have any comments on Wake and Coastal? I know that you just talked about Wake, but is there, I mean, just kind of backs up what you just said, how dominant this Wake Forest team is, especially on the road on Dollar Dog and Dollar Beer Night. That is very impressive to come into an environment like that with a bunch of Conway animals. So very, very impressive by them. Colby, any comments on that?
yeah, that's a tough place to win. Conway, I mean, especially with the promotions they're hosting. I mean, probably pretty rowdy. I didn't get to watch it, but to go in there and just dominate from start to finish, that's really impressive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And as we move on to ECU and VCU, I watched a good amount of this game on Tuesday night. I was getting off work, so I did watch it on my way home. I would listen on my way home and watch it at home. I want to preface this first. VCU is not good at baseball this year. Some of the plays that they made, especially at the plate, in the infield, were absolutely atrocious. It was not ideal. So I'm not saying that ECU's win is not validated, but take that. VCU is not what they were last year. They did lose their head coach to Liberty. But I think some major highlights were, I mean, the pitching kept them at bay. Granted, I don't think, like I said, VCU is that good. But I definitely think that across 1 through 9, I think it was better besides Alex Peltier. I think Alex Peltier going into that game was, 1 for his last 27. I'm not sure if he got a hit in that game, but I know it's been rough. He went from leadoff to the 9 hole. And Reed, talk about John Collins, a triple shy of the cycle. I know I'll be the first to say any ECU fans listening or watched ECU, I was very critical of him. I did not want him at the DH. I wanted Kalinic in there. I know a lot of people do not like Kalinic, but John Collins has shut me up for sure and proved me wrong, Reed.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, it took a while for Cliff to finally give him at bat, but he continues to deliver every time he comes in. His second swing as a Pirate was a homer, and then obviously the other night ago, 4 for 4, one hit shy of the cycle. I know he hit one up against the wall too in the Wednesday game. But shout out Parker Bird. I mean, how awesome was that? First career RBI coming in, getting that done. Really cool to see. But how about we get that Wednesday announcer to make a special appearance?
If anyone
He was.
watching that, he was electric.
I mean, when the Pirates were up 10-0, I mean, he was still throwing everything at it.
So I will say I was at work watching this game on my phone. I was on my computer, had it right in front of my laptop. I wasn't looking, I was listening, had the volume on. Colby Wallace hits just a single into left. You would have thought if you weren't watching, he just hit a Game 7 grand slam in the College World Series. He's oh my gosh. It was absolutely unbelievable. And there's one other thing I do want to touch on, and that is Alex Boucher. Reed, he really stepped it up this week. 3 for 4 from the plate on Tuesday. And also about Alex Boucher, I was watching this game, and my mother was watching it too, and she goes, "Is that Bobby Boucher?" Because she saw Boucher, and I said, "Mom, he's about to strike out right here," and then he hits a game-sealing double to I think end it in 8 innings, 7 innings, whatever it was. So shout out Mom for calling him Bobby Boucher. And as we get to a comment here from Mr. Matt, Kalinich's antics. I know Matt is not a fan of Kalinich's antics. I know a lot of people are not a fan of his antics, but hey, if there's one person that is going to let him do it, and it's Cliff Godwin, I'm fine with it. I've never seen an ECU player do the things he does, and I guess Cliff's good with it, so it is what it is. And as we move on from ECU and VCU, we go to Gardner-Webb in Western Carolina. Gardner-Webb with a convincing win over Western, 11-4. Dale Francis home run again. It's like saying the sky is blue, grass is green. He has been absolutely on fire from the plate. A good win from this Gardner-Webb squad, Western Carolina. I don't really know what to say. I mean, they win games. They lose games they're not supposed to win. It's just very interesting with that Western squad. And Colby, we'll let you touch on NC State and A&T winning 14-2. Just a really convincing game. And the Wolfpack have been red hot from the plate, scoring a lot of runs every single game they've played on this 9-game win streak.
Yeah, 9 wins in a row. This one got pretty out of hand early. I think by the second inning, it was already 6-0, and A&T did not look good. The bats were overpowered by State's pitching, and there's a lot of defensive miscues by the Aggies. Stateside, Braden Frosman and Ty Head went deep, and it was just convincing effort.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. And also, real quick, Tulsa just beat Temple in the American Conference tournament, just if anyone wants to know. Reed, I know you were itching to know. As we move on, does anyone have any comments on Carolina and when we see Braxton? I know we touched on that, but any other?
I just think it's good to see the Heels winning these extra inning tight midweek games. I mean, they're just finding ways right now, and I mean whether that's on the road, at home. I hope that continues, because obviously they have a tough road test this weekend in Louisville. But, these midweek games against these UNCWs and Coastals, those are tough games to win because that team wants to beat you, probably worse than you are taking that game. It's kind of hard for these teams because a lot of times they'll save a good arm for a game like UNC or something like that. And, you're throwing your Cam Padgetts or your kind of your secondary arms, maybe guys that didn't throw on the weekend but still need to get innings. But they've thrown their guys too as well, especially out of the bullpen in the midweeks, and they've had some good success in the midweek. Obviously, both their losses coming on the weekend. So Carolina, another team that's undefeated on the midweeks. But Yeah, I mean, just an impressive win, especially with that tough Wilmington crowd. I mean, they had the basketball team going on at the same time, punching their ticket. So it was impressive that that many fans were showing up for the baseball game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And as we move on, the last two are you have ties to those programs, Braxton. So I'll let you talk about those. I did not watch those games, the Winthrop and Notre Dame and
Yeah,
Upstate and Stetson.
I wasn't able to watch either of these, but I mean, look, Notre Dame's a good, solid program. Winthrop kind of I think they lost both. Upstate split with Stetson on the 2 games, so they lost last night but won on Tuesday. With Upstate, I think there's maybe a bit of a bullpen issue. I think they kind of run low on arms, after they throw their first 2 or 3 guys out of the pen. But, because I think they had a lead yesterday as well, and they ended up blowing it. But they're playing a tough schedule right now. I mean, when you got Troy and Stetson, those are 2 pretty good mid-major programs that you're playing. And now they start conference play this week. So I think they'll be confident going in, knowing that they've played better teams than they're about to face. Especially starting the conference season at home. I think that's good for them against a Radford team this weekend. So I expect them to win some games. Winthrop, obviously they got that big win against Oklahoma State last week, but since then it's kind of been rough. I mean, I think they're 1-5 since that game, maybe 1-4. They're just kind of losing the recipe for success right now a little bit, but I think they will get back on track. They've got Presbyterian this weekend in their Big South opener. And I think they're better than that team. Presbyterian is a scrappy little team too, but
Beat Alabama.
Yeah, I do look for Winthrop to bounce back this week though. Like I said, they've kind of taken a step back since that big win, but they're playing good teams as well. I mean, when you look at UAB, Michigan State, and then Notre Dame in a midweek is tough. But I expected them to maybe take one at home there, and they did not. So.
And as we move on to Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll go to Wednesday now.
Yeah, and that early game for the Patriots
11 a.m.
was crazy.
Same score line too as the Tuesday game, 6-3.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I will lead this one off with a great story. Parker Bird of ECU getting his first career RBI. Absolutely a huge moment for East Carolina athletics and as well as his family. Just absolutely love it for them. This is a great outing by ECU on the baseball side. Liberty transfer Nick Moran looked outstanding. Reed on the mound.
Yeah.
I know that he had a perfect game through 4. And
5 shutout innings too, I believe.
Yeah. It's outstanding. And granted, this is not the best VCU team, but once again, their Reed Pirates, I know, have a kind of pick-me-up week this week versus not the best opponents, but this is time for them to capitalize. Don't you think, Reed?
Absolutely. I mean, I think they need to be expecting to go 5-0. Certainly, they took care of business this week like they needed to in dominant fashion against kind of a down VCU team. William and Mary's up this weekend, but I think this will only help the Pirates' confidence. They sweep William and Mary this weekend. And then that will kind of help them lead into American play. Obviously, yes, they're still missing Ryan Towers and Riley Johnson. Hopefully, the Pirates will get them back here within the next couple of weeks as they look to take the next steps in their season.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of run through these here so we can move on here. Liberty drops another one to Clemson 8-2. Upstate splits with Stetson 9-7. Notre Dame takes Winthrop once again 12-3. And then Charleston Southern boys. Is it time to really start, Colby? Is it time for this Charleston Southern team to really take that next step and for us to really give them the attention that they deserve?
Yeah, I think it starts this weekend. I mean, they've done everything well so far. What is the record now?
12-3.
12-3 and play High Point this weekend.
12-3. You go on the road and play High Point, who obviously won the conference last year, conference tournament. Yeah, it starts this weekend. You win the series there. I think we have a bigger conversation about Charleston Southern.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they are led by A.J. Martin, a follower of the program. Great stuff by him. And just reading off these stats here, thank you, Braxton. Caden Smith of Charleston Southern went 3 for 3, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, 3 runs. A.J. Martin, 3 for 5, a double, an RBI, 3 runs. Nathan Martinez went 2 for 4, a double, 4 RBIs, and Blake Edgman went 2 for 5 with RBI and stolen bases and a stolen base. Braxton, this Charleston Southern team, they are a sneaky team to win the conference. And could we see the Bucks in a regional? I know we're talking about this early in March, but are they a threat?
I mean, I think they're certainly a threat. I think they'll have that on their mind. I mean, obviously we're still early March right now, but to start 12-3, and then we'll see how they do in conference play. They've kind of got a tough start to conference play with, I think they play High Point and then Upstate, I believe. So I mean, right out of the gate, you're gonna kind of know your match right away. And this is a team that's been close in the past few years in the Big South tournament. They've kind of been right in that top 2 or 3. I want to say. I think last year they might have lost in the semis to Upstate, and then the year before I think they were also there in the tournament. But I think their coach kind of has a pitching background, but I am kind of surprised to see this offense doing so well. I mean, it seems like every game I check their box score, and these guys have multiple hits up and down the order. You mentioned AJ Martin's been having a spectacular year so far. Chandler Tupou, it kind of starts with him in that lineup too. He's a returner and kind of a leader in that lineup, and I think what we're seeing out of them is really impressive, and I think they're starting to get the national train rolling on them a little bit. And it's if they can win another big series this weekend, it's going to keep rolling. So
yeah, and there's no doubt about it. Really looking forward to see what that Charleston Southern program does. I know that they have been very nice to us, very gracious to us on social media. We have got a great relationship with them. We are very thankful for that. And if any Charleston Southern fans are watching, please comment, please like our stuff, follow us. We love covering that Buccaneer program. And Colby, the Charlotte 49ers put on an absolute clinic across town versus Davidson, led by Thad. Ector went 2 for 3 with a home run, a double, 4 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and also just a pitching clinic. Trip Doval of Charlotte, 2 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 0 earned, 1 hit, got the win. And Joel Sarver, 2 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, 1 hit. Colby, this is a nice win for Charlotte going into the weekend.
Yeah, it was a good bounce back after the tough loss on Tuesday in Boone. Obviously, they had control most of that game until the former 49er Juan Correa hit the 3-run home run, I believe, in the 8th, and then at closed them out. But yeah, it was, this game, I think it only went 7 innings, right? And 7 innings and 18 strikeouts, I believe, for the Charlotte pitchers. Impressive bounce back leading up to the weekend.
Yeah, they are a good program going into. Look, really looking forward to see what that 49er program does. I definitely think this year the American is up as it was, as of not like it was in past years. We're looking forward to see what the American looks like. I definitely think there will be a lot of shakeup at the top as there were not in previous years. And to close this section off, South Carolina beats Georgia State. I think this is expected. I'm also looking to see as South Carolina enters into SEC play pretty soon, if not this weekend, Braxton.
Yeah, they play Oklahoma this weekend, who I think is ranked coming into Columbia. But they actually, one thing on them, what's that, Reed?
I think they're 12 in the country now.
Yeah,
Oklahoma's
I think that's right.
Off to a really hot start.
Yeah, so South Carolina actually changed their rotation going into this weekend. They took Matthew Becker. I think they threw Matthew Becker last night. So they're actually going to a right-hander, I think, Brandon Stone, tomorrow night. So he hasn't – I don't know if he started a weekend game all year. He is throwing on their SEC opener tomorrow night against Oklahoma. And also one other nugget, I don't know if this game is on national television, but we are starting to see some nationally televised baseball games starting this weekend, which is awesome. ACC Network has, I think, Wake, Miami tomorrow night, and then another one on Sunday. I think it's Louisville UNC might be one of those on Sunday or Saturday. That's pretty cool. Obviously, with basketball going on still, we're kind of hitting that transition right as basketball ends. We're going to start seeing some more of these games on the national stage. But anyways.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And Braxton, what you want to do next? You want to pull up the RPI and strength of schedule?
Yeah, let's go through RPIs if we can get that to work. Let me see.
yet, and I want to preface this. I hope it's able to come up on your screen. Braxton put up a great deal of work putting together all of these teams' RPIs and strength and schedules into an Excel spreadsheet. He is an absolute magician, wizard with this, as well as Colby is too. They are two massive parts of the team, and really appreciate them for that. But as Braxton pulls it up, this is going to show all the teams' RPIs as well as strength of schedule. Braxton, I'm going to pull up on YouTube to make sure we're seeing it there.
Yeah, I got X. I'm trying to see if it comes up on X, but
all right. All right. It is up on YouTube. I can see it on YouTube.
Okay, we're good.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Okay.
sweet. So I mean, where do y'all want to start? Like RPI, I guess, just because that's what it's sorted by right now. And so these are all the Carolina teams, obviously, all 28, and where they're ranking as of today. After obviously the midweeks happened.
For sure.
So I think what we can do, Jason, go ahead.
And I also want to preface this: if you are listening to this right now on Spotify, be sure to go to our YouTube and find this if you want to look at it. I am going to read them off for you if you are listening as we talk about them, so you don't really have to look it up if you are driving on the way to work, home from work, or on a walk. So
yeah, you can just kind of listen as we talk about it. But like I was saying, we can kind of do this. I think the best time to update this is like on a Thursday after the midweeks, and then probably a Monday after the weekends. I think that's when RPI updates anyway. But obviously, strength of schedule kind of goes into RPI. If you guys don't know what this is or anything about it, this is kind of what the committee looks at when it comes time. So I think about a month into the season now, right? What is it, the 13th? So I mean, this is probably a good time to start looking at where your team is at in the RPI standings, and because that's a big factor in regional as well as strength of schedule. But I mean, obviously Clemson at the top, ranking third in the nation in RPI, North Carolina at 10, Coastal at 16, South Carolina at 23, and then you get all the way down to UNCW, who is currently not in our top 12, but 46 in RPI. So that's what I mean about. I think this team's still a regional team, despite them losing some games right now. I mean, if you look at their strength of schedule, they're at 11th right now in the country. I think that is actually the highest in the Carolinas. So I mean, no need to panic right now, UNCW. You're playing. I think you're going to be fine in conference play. I know the CAA is tough, but you guys have won that league many times. I think teams you're kind of the target on the back team in that league, and I think they'll be just fine. But do you guys have any like surprises from this list? Any teams that you thought might be higher? I thought High Point might be higher, but obviously you look at their strength of schedule.
Colby, you want to go first? Are there any on this list that really stand out? Did you like, wow, they have a really low RPI?
I think it will drastically improve, but State right now, I was surprised to see it that low. Obviously, their schedule hasn't been that good. You see it's 224, but they did play Coastal once, Alabama once. I'm not sure what Ohio State's RPI is, but I mean, that was a solid weekend. I guess other than that, the teams they've played haven't been good. But once ACC plays full in effect, they'll be fine. But that sticks out to me right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And before I get to you reading your take, I'm going to read out some of these big hitters outside of the top 50, so to speak. Wake Forest is at 65 in the RPI. East Carolina is at 76. Western Carolina is at 97. UNCG 98. Duke 102. Charleston Southern 108. Campbell 121. College of Charleston at 132. Wofford at 137. High Point 141. Charlotte 150. NC State 160. And then to bring up the rear, Gardner Webb at 273 and NC-A&T at 286, Elon 251. But just like Colby said, and just like Reed is going to touch on, this is going to change as we get closer. But also, Reed, for these teams like East Carolina, these smaller programs that do play these Power 5 programs or Power 4 and these bigger games at the beginning of the year, if you're East Carolina and you don't win these games versus UNC and Coastal, Reed, they're really going to hurt you come the end of May.
Yeah, I mean, obviously ECU didn't capitalize on some of the chances they've had at the beginning of the season. but they still play a really good. They still have a lot of good midweek games. Obviously, I know midweek RPI doesn't affect it as much as, say, a weekend series, but I mean, it's early. I mean, I personally don't really like to start paying attention to the RPI kind of closer until later April. Sorry, I think is when you need to start taking a closer look at it. Obviously, most of the conferences start conference play this weekend, so I mean things are drastically going to change. Obviously ECU at this time last year was way higher at this time in the RPI. But I mean, certainly, I'm not going to say they're going to be a top 20 RPI team like they've been in the past couple of years, but there's no doubt in my mind they can get up, in the 35 to 45 range closer to the end of the season.
I 100% agree. But like these teams in the Big South, we have a majority of the Big South programs in our Carolina Curveball, and their RPIs are not the best, and they aren't going to get much better because they're playing each other. So the at-large bids are going to be really scarce for them. I think honestly, the maybe one or two teams, if not just one, they're going to have to win.
It's just going to be one.
Yeah, it's just going to be one, no doubt about it, as Colby says. And any other comments on the RPI as we move on and straight the schedule, Braxton?
I'm pretty surprised that Western's this high. I mean, I know they've played a pretty tough schedule. I wouldn't. I mean, look, like Reed said, it's still pretty early to be checking RPIs, but I mean, at the same time, we have had a month of the season, so I'd say it's probably fine to at least take a peek and like figure out who's played a good schedule so far, especially with non-conference kind of wrapping up. But yeah, you make a good point about the Big South. I think like it is going to be tough for those kind of teams to get RPI points, especially with your non-conference behind you. What you've done is done. Like now it's up to you winning your league and winning your conference tournament. And I mean, I don't know if the Big South's been a two-bid league for a while. I think maybe Campbell was probably the last time when they I think Presbyterian or Charleston Southern or someone like that won the tournament and Campbell got in at large. But I mean, it doesn't happen often, especially with them not even in that league now. So I do believe that the CAA still has a good chance of being a three-bid lead with possibly Wilmington, possibly College of Charleston, and then maybe Campbell, since they've played such a good schedule so far and they can maybe get hot in conference play. But I mean, we'll let it play out. But you do make a good point. It is harder for the Big South teams or a team in a lower tier conference to kind of move up these rankings. You kind of have to win your conference, as y'all say.
Yeah, and as you said with the CAA, I think the Big South was not the best example by me, as your pop said. Big South has always been one big league. I think my example should have better been Colby, like the CAA, a conference like that where you do have. I mean, look at College of Charleston last year. On top of your head, do y'all remember what their RPI was last year to end in the year, Reed or Colby? Does anyone know?
Not off the top.
I think it was top 50.
Yeah, I don't want to say a wrong number, but I feel like it was in.
I thought it was not bad at all. I didn't think it was horrible.
Yeah,
but CAA only got one bid last year, right? It's just Wilmington, or they get another team in.
Wilmington.
Yeah, I think it's just Wilmington.
Yeah, didn't Northeastern didn't make it last year?
I don't think so.
Obviously, we know Charleston should have been in, but
Wilmington won the conference tournament last year.
Yeah, they beat.
I think they're the only team that got in.
They beat Charleston in the conference title.
Yeah, and just kind of like I said, the CAA is a better example with kind of getting these RPI points. You look right now, you have UNC Wilmington at 46 on the RPI. You have College of Charleston 132. You have Campbell 120, 121. And as we transition into the strength of schedule, go ahead.
They were 47th last year at the end of the year.
Wow. That's brutal. That's tough. Yeah. And as we move on to strength of schedule, like my point says, so for example, here you have Campbell at 121 in the RPI. Then you have College of Charleston at 132 in the RPI. From looking at the product on the field, I can confidently say College of Charleston is a better baseball team than Campbell by their wins and losses. But when you look at strength of schedule, Campbell's strength of schedule is 20th in the country to College of Charleston's 159. And as we can kind of get in that, Braxton, do you want to put them in order on strength of schedule?
Yeah,
If you are watching, if you are watching this show live or watching back on YouTube, appreciate Braxton's gifts on Excel. It's very, very impressive. And if you're listening, I will read them out to you right now. I think if you are listening and not watching, these I'm about to read off to you are going to shock you. You try not to hit the brakes too hard, or try not to run off of the trail if you're walking or running. UNC, these are the Carolina programs ranked in strength of schedule in the country. I'm going to read them off from top to bottom. UNC Wilmington comes in at 11. Queens comes in at 16th. Campbell comes in at 20th. UNCG comes in at 23rd. Coastal Carolina 24th. Western Carolina 29th. East Carolina 33rd. North Carolina 51. Clemson 65. As we kind of dropped off. And Reed, this really goes to my point of these smaller programs not in these power conferences playing these such hard schedules early in the season to build these RPI points, because they know later in the season they're not going to have this opportunity to build on this RPI.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But I mean, a lot of these North Carolina, South Carolina programs still will get the chance on midweeks compared, outside compared to some of the other states across the nation. I mean, there's just so many talented teams. So, I mean, teams are still going to have chances, but, I mean, you do make the great point. Not taking advantage in the early part of the season could come back to bite you later in May.
Correct. And Colby, we'll start off with you. On this strength of schedule list, are there any surprises to you of like, wow, like this is not a strong strength of schedule from this program?
Honestly, Charlotte, I mean, they played at Arkansas, and they're at 135. And they've also, I mean, this week they played at App State. I thought their strength of schedule would be higher or lower the way you look at it. But yeah.
Yeah, and Wake Forest is at 183. I'll run through some other surprises as we kind of dip down. I read the top. Clemson at 65, South Carolina at 87, Duke at 92, Charlotte, like Colby said, at 135, College of Charleston 159, Wake Forest 183, High Point 213, NC State at 224. You got Charleston Southern coming in at 234, Wofford at 242, which is pretty crazy to me. I think that's why their RPI is so low, because they have been winning games, but not against the best competition. And then A&T and Gardner Webb at 288. How many teams are there?
I was just going to say, so to give context, there's 307 Division I programs.
Yeah, that is something special. That is crazy. Braxton, I'll get your comments on the strength of schedule.
Yeah, and obviously, this will fluctuate throughout the year. It's going to change right with the RPIs. I mean, as teams win and lose games, that teams that have played them, that'll fluctuate their strength of schedule. Like obviously, you look at South Carolina, who's at an 87 right now, as they continue to play, SEC programs that are higher caliber. I think that'll go up. But this is like these are key metrics that the committee ends up looking at in terms of regional play. So, I mean, you want to challenge yourself early, as some of these teams at the top have, and the ones that have won games like UNC, Clemson, they're going to be in the top 10 right now in RPI, and then you look at coastal teams like that. So, it is pretty cool to look at week to week. But I mean, we won't try to dig too far into it. But it is nice to as we cover these teams in the Carolinas, we got to take this into account into our own rankings. All these teams have an RPI rank, and that's what the larger committee is looking at. So that's what we're going to be looking at too as well.
Yeah, as well as the strength of schedule, because a team can be maybe 12-3, but have the 389th strength of schedule, and looking at who they played. So we'll definitely take that into account. We have been taking it into account over the last 2 years. And as we wrap this up, Colby, Reed, any final comments on the fluctuation between RPI and strength schedule?
No, I mean, it's early. Baseball is the games are going to are going to take over. And we're going to see a lot of changes. I mean, by the end of the weekend, there'll probably be a ton of changes. I'm not going to start paying more attention closely to it until end of April, but it's still a good look to take a look at now.
No doubt about it. And if we want to go ahead and look at the weekend, Braxton, if you honestly just want to click, if you want to stay there, we can go to the slate on the sheet if you want to. We can.
You want to show that? You want to show? I have the graphic pulled up for the 5. So why don't we just do that first, and then
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Let's do that.
So every week at Counter Curveball, we do a weekly pick'em segment where we pick 5 games, the top 5 games of the week of our choosing. I will run through our records right now before we get into the games themselves. Reed Tobin leads at 12-6. Matt and myself and Braxton at 11-7. Colby at 9-9. And then James, the technician, coming in at 6-12 with our picks. And here are this week's games: Elon at Wofford, Charleston Southern at High Point, Charlotte at Wilmington. The Heels go to Louisville, and in Miami comes to Winston-Salem. Colby, which one of these games has your eye the most?
Probably say the Charlotte UNCW series. Obviously, UNCW's been up and down to start the year, and you got a Charlotte team who's pretty good, in my opinion. I think going to be one of the top dogs in the American. So I think that'll be a really interesting series.
Looking forward to it for sure. Reed, what series outside of the Heels and Louisville, which I'm going to leave to Braxton to talk about, is caught your eye?
Yeah, I'll go with the Charleston Southern series. Obviously, I think we're all curious. Can they continue their hot start this weekend at High Point? I think that will be a really dynamic series this weekend. Expect a lot of fireworks this weekend.
No doubt. I think there will be a lot of movement either way in the power rankings by either of the outcomes. And Braxton, we will leave it to you to talk about the Heels going to Louisville. This will be a nice test for them on the road. I'm not sure how good Louisville is this year, but I know they have a solid baseball program. So looking forward to seeing what the Heels do in Louisville.
Yeah, definitely a pretty solid program. Obviously they've been to Omaha a few years ago now. But they, UNC coming off, playing the Stanford Cardinal. Now you play the Louisville Cardinals. It's going to be a tough test, going on the road. They actually did already move the series. I believe it's a doubleheader tomorrow. So right out of the gate, you could go there and win the series tomorrow, if you play your cards right. But it's definitely not going to be easy. I think, this UNC team is used to being tested, especially here earlier in the season. So I think they're going to want to bounce back from that rough start in the ACC play last week. So I do expect them to do that. I expect DeCaro to bounce back tomorrow. I don't know I guess there's some weather on Saturday up there in Louisville, but it looks like they're playing, like I said, 2 tomorrow and then 1 on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects it. And then the other series at the top, the reason that has a versus is because they're actually playing 2 games at Elon, and then they're playing the last game at Wofford, interestingly enough. So there will be 2 on Flow Sports at Elon, and then 1 on ESPN Plus on Sunday at Wofford. So possibly a rubber match there. But I think that's an interesting series. Elon, the team that just lost to Charleston Southern, they did bounce back in the midweek. Wofford's kind of been they kind of had a losing week. I think they're 1-4 in their last 5, but they played obviously Kentucky, College of Charleston, and then they lost to Presbyterian as well. So I look for them to bounce back against Elon this weekend. But those are the 2 that I would say I have my eye on the most. And then obviously, like I said, High Point, Charleston Southern, and then Wake, what they do with the Hurricanes.
Yeah, Carolina. For sure. And go ahead, Doug.
Carolina's first road series too of the year, so that that will be interesting.
Yep, one of their only ones, really.
Yeah, they're not traveling outside the state of North Carolina much this year.
They go to Tallahassee to end the year, and then I think they
at BC.
Yeah,
That's it,
so
yeah.
there'll
That's
be
it.
a couple.
Yeah, that's it.
That's insane, actually.
That's why I like them to win the ACC.
That's actually insane. And Colby, we'll go with you for this last one, Miami at Wake. You've talked about Wake a couple times tonight. What do you expect from the Demon Deacons this weekend?
Yeah, I think it should be a good one in Winston. If we're still doing that hype one, we should try to swing by that one too. But anyways, Miami's always a solid program. They always have studs on their team. I'm not really sure what they've been doing. I know they lost to Florida in the weekend series a couple weekends ago, but I'm not totally sure outside of that. Wake's obviously hot, scoring a ton of runs. I think it's going to be tough for Miami to come into Winston and beat them the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I definitely think all those will be a must watch for sure. Look out for our pick'em tomorrow morning coming out after the slate. Be sure to give the technician and money crap on their picks, because they'll probably pick all underdogs. Maybe, you never know. And as we move on, Braxton, let's go to some other games. Talk about some other games as we wrap up tonight. I will start off with saying some of the games. If you're listening. Notre Dame goes to Clemson this weekend. I definitely think that will be a tough weekend for the Fighting Irish. I think Clemson is very, very good, and Notre Dame went to Winston-Salem last week and did get swept. Texas State at App State as Sunbelt action is getting underway. Texas State, didn't they just beat someone recently, Reed? Yes, but A&M's I think lost to everybody recently.
They lost to Campbell though.
Yeah, Campbell beat them last weekend.
Yeah. UConn at Campbell. UConn normally not a horrible baseball program. Looking forward to
UConn
that.
did just beat Miami in a series last weekend.
Yeah,
to touch on that just a little.
And I think they play Duke in the midweek coming up as well. So they go right from Campbell to Durham.
Yeah, I know they play Carolina too coming up in a midweek.
Yeah, so they're kind of doing their little south door right now, but
Bowie's Creek to Durham. Wow, what a scenic route!
Yeah.
What a scenic route that is. Kennesaw State at the Citadel, Charleston Southern at Georgia Southern at Coastal Carolina. Excuse me.
Yeah, that one was a borderline pick 'em, but I think we've had both of those teams in quite a few times, so we wanted to give some other teams some love.
Dartmouth at College of Charleston, William and Mary at East Carolina, UNC Asheville at Gardner Webb. Look for a lot of runs to be scored in that series. NC A&T at UNCG, a crosstown matchup right there. As Colby discussed tonight, Virginia Tech at NC State. Then Queens at West Georgia, North Carolina at Louisville, Oklahoma at South Carolina, Reed. That is an intriguing series. I definitely think this is put up or shut up for South Carolina. I definitely think they have not played a lot of good teams, and the good team they did play, they did get swept by, which was Clemson on the weekend. Reed, what do you expect from the Gamecocks this weekend? Do you expect them to win this series? We can say because it's not the pick 'em.
I think this is a really good test for the Gamecocks. Obviously, they've taken care of business like they need to against the rest of their opponents after getting swept against Clemson. But Oklahoma off to a blazing start. I think they're up into the top 15. They've already knocked off a couple of top 10 teams. But we'll see if the South Carolina pitching can continue to build on the momentum. Petrie's been continuing to swing the bat well. Should be a good crowd for South Carolina this weekend. Obviously, they don't have anything to cheer for in basketball. So, it should be interesting. SEC play, it's going to be a gauntlet. So South Carolina will certainly want to get off on a good start this weekend and win that series.
For sure. And as we wrap up the slate of games to talk about, Duke at Stanford, kind of a sleepy kind of game. I don't know how late we'll stay up watching that across.
Yeah, it's gonna be a struggle because that first game tomorrow is at 9, so the scoreboard won't be coming out till around midnight, folks. But that's it. They flew out yesterday. They literally just played. They just played George Mason. I think got on a flight like today, maybe yesterday. I don't know. Like that's crazy. And then they come back right after to play UConn. So it's just like
against a good Stanford ball club that just went into UNC and took 2.
I guess that's why they played at 11. I didn't even realize that.
Good point. They had to get to RDU as fast as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
Braxton, what do you expect out of that series from Stanford? I know you watched them pretty close last week as you watched the UNC series, and you watched.
I actually didn't watch that series at all. I wasn't.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Reed.
But I mean, look, I expect Duke to go in there and actually win the series. I know Stanford, they've obviously looked good in the early going, but I think that Duke is really looking to make a point, especially, I mean, now that I'm speaking it out loud, I'm kind of wondering about that whole travel thing, that they might come out a little sluggish tomorrow, but they do get the late start. So that is one that we will have our eyes on. I mean, obviously it's the late game, so I will be watching it for sure, but I expect Duke to come out and win that series, I think, actually, if I had to pick it.
Yeah, once again, sorry for everyone waiting for the final score slate. It'll be out by 1 a.m. because the Duke Blue Devils decide to go across the way. Colby,
if it's like 9, if it's like not a close game, I might just throw it in as the score and go to bed.
Sure. Colby, any comments on the slate this weekend?
Yeah, it's good. I just when conference play starts, I really feel like that's when I get my juices flowing for college baseball. So nothing against the first month of the season. It's great to have baseball back. But once we're in full swing of conference play, everyone's got conference opponent. It just feels like we're really getting kicking in the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As soon as I start to see these MEAC teams play each other, my hands just start shaking. As we get in that play, as Reed Tobin, lover of the Coppin State program.
Oh yeah,
right, Reed.
Avid fan.
Yes, sir. And folks, do not forget to follow us on Twitter. Well, first of all, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you still are, thank you for watching. If you still are, this was a longer show tonight, I will say, but this was a data-driven show tonight, as I like to thank Braxton for putting in all the hard work, getting all these hard numbers and presenting them to you all. I know that me, Reed, and Colby much greatly appreciate it. Braxton, thank you, sir. This has been a very, very good show, very data-driven show. And don't forget, folks, if you do not follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Carolina Curve BB, that is the same username on Instagram. Follow us on Spotify. Join our Discord also. All of those links are in our bio. Feel free to join them as much. Please feel free to talk as much as you want in the Discord. Comment on all our stuff. Reply. We love the interaction no matter what. Be sure to like and subscribe for sure. Any other lasting comments, boys?
Just try to watch some baseball tomorrow. I know there's going to be a lot of basketball on.
Players?
Yeah, I don't care about the players till Sunday, but I know Tobin likes that one. But no, listen, I'm going to be watching basketball. Obviously, we all are. This is March Madness, but I will be watching baseball too. Don't you guys worry about it.
Yeah. And Tobin, we'll go to you really fast for a quick segment. Can we get a players update? What were your thoughts and analysis of the first day?
Rory won back, but the veteran Lucas Glover. Thank you for your expertise of 0 minutes.
When's the last time he won? I know this isn't a major, but it basically is.
Rory?
Yeah, when's his last major win?
The Zurich Classic.
2014.
Has he won the player?
He won the players back in 2019, though.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Colby, any last comments on players, basketball, anything?
Yeah, I won't be watching basketball because both my teams suck this year, but hashtag Wade to State. Get it trending.
Who is that?
Will Wade to NC State.
Okay.
As we see Bogey in the background right there. There he is.
Yeah.
Bogey, want to make a special appearance?
He's ready for bed.
He is ready for bed. And I think a lot of our people watching are ready for bed. Once again, folks, thank you for listening to us, watching us. If you are watching, thank you for watching. If you are listening, thank you for listening. Once again, follow us on X at Carolina Curve BB, and all of our links are in our bio, folks. Once again, thank you and good night. We will see you on Sunday night.